So in the last session, we have seen how to set up a VPN, and we have chosen the third-party VPN service called OpenVPN, and we set up a VPN server. And then we have observed how we can access the private instances or any instance using private subnet with the help of a VPN service. Now, in the today's session, we will cover the miscellaneous features, the small options available. Let us go through all those things and we will conclude the VPC topic in this session. So first, let's talk about VPC flow logs. So can you guess what might be this a flow logs feature is? Any wild guess? Okay, so log in the sense which will capture the information about some application or something, right? I'm talking about in a general context. So log in the sense that's a file which can capture the information about a particular application. It can be a errors, it can be a warnings, or it can be a regular information or whatever. So here the VPC flow logs, right? It is an AWS feature which is available on the VPC, which means we need to enable it, which captures information about the traffic going to and from the network interfaces in your VPC. Let us say in your VPC, if you have like 3 EC2 instances, incoming traffic will be there and outgoing traffic will be there, right? Let us say one of your EC2 instance, you are running some website, right? So thousands of people try to access the website on 80 port. This VPC flow logs will capture the information like for which port the request is coming inside into your VPC and to which network interface also. Network interface means the network port or network card or whatever you have on the EC2 instance. And from which IP address the request is coming, whether the incoming request is accepted or denied, every piece of information will be captured. What is the use? The purpose of this is to troubleshoot if there is any network issues. Let us say you have created a lot of security things and someone or few people are complaining that they are unable to access a particular database service from the outside. If that database traffic is getting rejected or getting denied because of a security group or because of a NACL or whatever, that will be captured in the flow log so that we can understand, okay, the traffic is getting rejected and we can adjust the security group according to the requirements. That is what the VPC flow logs are. Let me write down here. So VPC flow logs is an AWS VPC feature that capture is nothing but like collecting, right? Captures information about the traffic going to and from network interfaces in your VPC. Now you might have a question about like what exactly the network interface? What is this network interface? Network interface is the network port or card which can be used to connect the instance in the network, like a network port or RJ45 port, we call it as a LAN port or whatever. So the VPC flow logs, we can say it's like a kind of a CCTV or network CCTV. What is the purpose of a CCTV? If you install a CCTV for your apartment building or for your house building, what it does, it will capture everyone who enters into your building and who goes out from your building, right? The same way, the VPC flow logs captures or it shows like who talked to which EC2 instance, when, at what time, and what ports what protocols were used in this communication. Every piece of information will be captured by these flow logs. I can say flow logs can capture who talked to whom, when, and what ports or protocols were used in this communication. Talked in the sense like communication. A person is trying to access the website, means the person is talking to the web server EC2 instance. Who in the sense, it doesn't show the name of the user. From each IP address, the user initiated the communication. That is what who. Whom, to which EC2 instance he is communicating. When, at what time and date. What ports. Is he communicating over 80 port or 443 port or something else? Protocols, TCP protocol, UDP or HTTP, HTTPS. Every piece of information will be recorded in this particular VPC flow logs. Now, what is the use case? What are the use cases of this particular flow logs? Already I mentioned, right? It is used to troubleshoot the connectivity. Like you can get some information like why the traffic got failed to enter or to get communicate with your EC2 instance. And also you can use this to analyze the traffic patterns, like how many requests are coming inside per hour and all the things. And you can use this for like cost, what we call that, this information you can feed, to some what we call that, that there are some tools like Splunk or Snort and a Datadog. If you give this data to those tools, they will analyze and they will show you like what kind of traffic you are getting, and is there, they will suggest you some recommendations also, like what ports were unnecessarily opened, what ports, what we call that, what ports to be blocked or denied. Every piece of information you will get here. Okay, right. Let us see how to enable VPC flow logs on my first VPC. Whenever I say enable, which means it will capture the information, right? The traffic information. But so at this stage, have you got any question about this? Okay, let us say you enable. Immediately you should get a question like where exactly that information, that logs will be stored. That is the most important thing, right? Where exactly the information gets stored. Any guess? Any guess that where this log information will be stored if you enable the VPC flow logs? Any guess? Definitely it requires some kind of a storage or something, right? Definitely. So how many types of storages we have? How many storages we have? Any guess? Okay, right. So it seems you are unable to guess also. So immediately you should get something called S3. S3 is an object storage, right? Okay, let me say here, before the use cases only, let me write down. These flow logs can be stored using multiple options, not on a single option. One is Amazon S3. I mean, you can store all the logs into the Amazon S3 bucket, or Amazon CloudWatch logs. We haven't covered the CloudWatch topic yet. In the CloudWatch, I will show you something called log groups, log streams. I mean, the CloudWatch service also can collect and store the logs. Or else there is something which we don't really use it. This will be used for, this will be used by data analytics team and all, which is Amazon Kinesis data file hosts. So when to use what type of a storage for the flow logs. If you see this Amazon Kinesis, let me start from the base because we are going to use this Amazon S3 to enable the VPC flow logs. This can be used to send the real-time logs, or we can say this can be used for real-time analytics. Real-time analytics, what does that mean? Whatever the logs are captured by the VPC flow logs will be sent to third-party tools like Splunk, Datadog, or ELK Stack. You can send all the information to the third-party tools. I don't want to store in any of the Amazon services because using those third-party tools, real-time data analytics to be performed. In such cases, you can use this Amazon Kinesis data firehose. And then the other one is the Amazon CloudWatch, right? This Amazon CloudWatch is best for real-time visibility, means the logs are available in user-friendly format. And the main advantage to store in that Amazon CloudWatch logs is if there is something happening in the logs, we can create alerts. We can create alerts, which means if it finds some key value, some value or a string in the logs, it will send you an email alert or some kind of tools or whatever you configure. And the main advantage, the drawbacks with this Amazon CloudWatch logs is it is more expensive for large traffic volumes, but in the real time, majority of the people will use this Amazon CloudWatch logs not only to store the flow logs, not for the flow logs, for the real-time application logs and all, they use the CloudWatch logs. Then Amazon S3 is a cheap and best, cheap and best, cheap and scalable. And we have some third-party tools like Athena or Glue. By using those tools, those are AWS tools. Those also can be used for data analytics. And the main advantage with the Amazon S3 is for long retention. If you want to keep these logs for years, then always it is recommended to use Amazon S3. Okay, right. So now what we do is let us enable VPC flow logs on my first VPC and store the logs on S3 bucket. Okay, so first what I do is create a S3 bucket. Let us say my flow logs. For uniqueness, let me give today's date, 2025 in Northern Virginia region. Then enable flow logs and enable flow logs on my first VPC and choose the bucket as destination for logs. Means these logs to be stored in that particular bucket, right? Okay, let us go ahead and let us create. So here is my AWS account. First step is to create the S3. We need an S3 bucket. Okay, let me go to the directory buckets. Sorry, general purpose buckets. Let me click on create bucket, general purpose. Let me enter the name. Let me copy paste the name. And just I will keep all default options and I clicked on create bucket. So what exactly we are going to happen here is we are having okay, one second. Okay, so here this is our VPC flow logs, one resource, and then we are going to have an S3 bucket, right? We're going to have an S3 bucket. Let us say this is going to be the S3 bucket. What exactly is happening? The VPC flow logs are sending logs and creating data into the S3 bucket. Definitely, this requires some permissions, right? It requires some permissions. Without having a permissions, it cannot write any data into the storage. Now the question is, how can we assign permissions to the VPC flow logs so that the VPC flow logs can store data into the S3 bucket? We have two different ways. Generally, the most thing is on the S3 bucket, we can assign a bucket policy to allow the flow logs to write the data. Or the other way, IAM role. We need to assign an IAM role to the VPC flow logs, and then it can write the data, right? Okay, just keep that in mind. So we will do it. Now, let me navigate to the VPC service. We created the S3 bucket already. Let me navigate to the VPC. And here go to your VPCs. On which VPC you would like to enable the flow logs, select that. And here you can see an option called flow logs. And by default, flow logs are not enabled. Now you need to enable, like how, just click on create flow log. Name, I will say my first VPC dash of flow log, just a meaningful name. What traffic you would like to capture? All traffic, incoming accepted traffic, rejected traffic, everything. Maximum aggregation level, you can go with 10 minutes or 1 minute. Like every 1 minute, the logs will be updated. And see, destination, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, but I said 3 only, right? But altogether, there are 3 only. So CloudWatch, Amazon S3, Amazon Data Firehose, which is a Kinesis service, but one is same account and the second one is a different account. Let me choose Amazon S3 bucket. And which bucket? Let me get the ARN of the S3 bucket. Okay, now what is the ARN? Because here it is asking you to enter the ARN. And what if I want to create a flow logs for 10 different VPCs? Do I need to maintain 10 different buckets? Not required. How we can manage is, let me show you. So this is the flow logs, right? In this flow logs, what I do is I will create a folder. I will say it as my first VPC, and I will configure the flow logs of first VPC to be stored in this directory, not in the bucket. So for the second VPC, I will create another folder, third VPC, another folder. Or else, if you create all the flow logs to the single bucket without a structure, all the logs will be messed up, right? Means you can't easily identify which log belong to which VPC. That's why you need to create a folders like this. Now we need to get the ARN of this S3 bucket. Go to properties of the bucket. Here is the Amazon resource name, ARN. Enter the ARN. Then / folder name. What is the folder name? To which folder we would like to store all the data? This is the one, right? My first VPC. We copy paste. And you must use a slash at the folder after the folder name also. Now log record format, default format. Default format in the sense it will capture version, account ID, interface ID, source address, source port, destination port, protocol, how many packets of data, how many bytes of data, at what time the communication started, when the communication ended, whether it is get action, put action, or what is the action like allowed or denied. Every piece of information will be recorded. Or you can choose a custom and you can select what all to be recorded like this. Source address, destination address, source port, destination port, what protocol, when it was started, when it was ended, action. Like you can choose like this. Scroll down. Log file format is going to be the text. Partition logs by time. I will choose 1 hour. Means if you choose 24 hours, one file will be created for every 1 day. It's all the single day file data will be available in a single file. Means it is going to be a huge file, difficult for us to search. If you say 1 hour, every 1 hour, a new file will be created. If someone asks you like, okay, today morning, today evening at 3 p.m., what happened? Please check. Yes, you can get directly go to that 1 hour file and you can check the information. Then scroll down. This is called as a log rotation. Create flow log, which will take up to 15 to 20 minutes of time to activate for the first time. Initially, it takes 15 to 20 minutes of time. After that, you can see the information automatically. For this, what you have to do is create a Linux EC2 instance in my first VPC and host a simple website. Access the website from website multiple times and observe the logs in the S3 folder. Just you need to observe whether all the information got captured or not. Do we have any EC2 instance? If yes, quickly let me check that also. But you need to wait for 15 to 20 minutes of time. You have to wait for 15 to 20 minutes of time. You guys need to check that once you are done with enabling the flow logs. Okay. Right. So if I go to the S3 bucket, here you will see the information about the flow logs and all. The moment once the traffic has been initiated, see here, AWS logs. This is your account ID. No objects because there is no traffic. Let me create one quick EC2 instance, web server, so that we can observe, right? Amazon Linux. Sorry. My first VPC, public subnet. Okay, so I got a question like, any application has its own logs, then do we need to create for every service like this? The VPC flow logs are not for your application, not for your application. It is to monitor the traffic of the VPC network. Okay. So again, coming to your actual question, every application is going to have their own logs, right? Yes. That logs we will ship into CloudWatch. We will ship it to CloudWatch. So we will discuss that in detail in the CloudWatch topic. Like we have a CloudWatch in which we will create a log groups, like server 1, server 2, server 3, server 4, or Apache logs, application logs, database logs, and so on. In the log group, we will create a log tree. Database 1, database 2, database 3, database 4. Means instead of logging into each and every server to monitor or to check the logs, you can go to CloudWatch and you can check the appropriate log group and log stream, and you can see what's happening. It's a kind of log monitoring service, the CloudWatch. And if you need, I will show you some third-party tools also. There is something called New Relic. Have you ever heard about New Relic or a Splunk? The most popular log monitoring service, Splunk. What it does, we will install some agent in your server. We will configure what logs to be shipped. It will send all the logs to this Splunk. It's a kind of a centralized location where you can collect the logs from hundreds of servers. This is one tool, Splunk. Then a New Relic. New Relic. This is also a log monitoring thing. Datadog, Dynatrace. These all are like SolarWinds. These all are log monitoring services. The same way, Amazon's log monitoring service is the CloudWatch. Okay. Right. So let me quickly log into this EC2 instance and let me host a website so that we can, at least not today, the data will be captured by end of the session and we can check like whether we can observe the flow logs or not. Give me just 2 to 3 minutes of time. I will host a website. Before closing the session, again, we will come back and we will observe how the logs looks like. Sudo -i, yes, okay. Yum update. And we have to cover a few other things also about especially the gateways. I will show you that also. Okay, yum install httpdy, just to install the web server. Then service httpd start and chk config httpd on. Okay. Then vi slash var www html index.html. I will say welcome to my web site. Let me save it. That's it. The website is ready and the website is getting access. Let's check that also. Welcome to my website. Okay. So we will come back and we will check the flow logs and all in some time. Okay. Because I said it might take up to 15 to 20 minutes of time. Let me go to the VPC service. I will show you few options available and we will talk about those options. So yesterday we have created a VPN, right? We have created a VPN service, but that's a what we call that. That's a third-party software. Do we have any Amazon's VPN service? Yes, we can. How it is possible is with the help of a customer gateway, virtual private gateway, and site-to-site VPN connections. I will explain all these things in detail now. Before getting into this, are you guys clear with the what we call that VPC flow logs or any questions? Any questions? No? Okay. Right. So first let us talk about these things: customer gateway, virtual private gateway, site to site, and client VP. Okay. Right. So here the first one is customer gateway. First one is customer gateway. What exactly the customer gateway? Gateway on customer side, right? Okay, let me go in a different way. Whenever you want to connect your AWS VPC, so here, this is the AWS VPC, right? AWS VPC with your on-premises data center, with your on-premises data center, then we will use these gateways and all. We have a different gateways. We have a different gateways, and according to the requirement, we have to use each gateway in a different use case. This is a VPC, and on your right side, you are having on-premise data center. This is going to be on-premise data center. Whenever you want to establish the connection, obviously we know we need a VPN service, right? So here, what exactly the we use is we use the gateways. We use a gateways. We use a gateways. What gateway to be used? So here on the customer side, we will set up a customer gateway. Right? And on the VPC side, we will create something called virtual private gateway. Just I'm showing you the positions. Virtual private gateway. And here, this is a site to site VPN connection. Site to site VPN connection. And we have something called, let us say, this is your laptop. there is something called client VPN endpoint. Client VPN endpoint. What exactly these are? If you want to establish the communication between Amazon's VPC and your on-premise data center, then you need to use these three components. So we need to have a site-to-site VPN connection. To set up the site-to-site VPN connection, you need to set up these two components. One is virtual private gateway, which represents or which is on Amazon side of the VPN connection. And you need to set up customer gateway, which is on your on-premises site, which act as your on-premise router, and a connection between these two, or we can say a secure tunnel between you, uh, between your what we call the customer gateway and virtual private gateway is called as a site-to-site VPN. Client VPN endpoint means secure connection for individual users. Secure connection for individual users. Like yesterday we have seen, right? We have used IPsec VPN, which creates a secure tunnel between your laptop and the VPN server. That is what these gateways are. Let me write down each and everything. Theoretically, you must know these are like kind of one-time setups. If you are going to join a company which already running using AWS, that's a one-time setup. Someone might have set up that, and we never change that. We never change that. We have, so I can say, VPN service from AWS. So I can say instead of third-party VPN services, we can use the VPN offered by AWS. And AWS VPN is having multiple components, or we can say connection types. What are those? The first one is customer gateway. The second one is virtual private gateway. The third one is site-to-site VPN.
Sir, I'm not getting your voice actually. Can you check with the other participant?
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, it's clear now.
Okay. Just I unmuted and unmuted. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. Okay. Okay. So let me, where are we? Transit gateway. Okay. Transit gateway is a central network hub which can connect multiple VPCs together, VPN connections, and direct connect gateways. But the question is, yesterday, to connect multiple VPCs, we used a VPC peering, right? Yes. But here, the advantage of the transit gateway is if you use a transit gateway, no need of VPC peering. It's a modern way of establishing the communication between two VPCs, but still the organizations are using VPC peering only. But you can use the transit gateway to connect multiple VPCs. That is the advantage. So if you ask me about the gateways, I have one gateway, which is S3 gateway. If you recollect, while we create the VPC using VPC and more option, right? We have something called S3 gateway. What is the S3 gateway? Any guess? Any guess? Or I can say, let me write down the name, uh, gateway endpoint. Gateway and a point for S3. Generally, gateway means a kind of an entry point, right? Gateway endpoint for S3. Let me explain what, because most of the time this might be asked in the certification or in the interviews. So here, let us say this is my S3 bucket. And here I have a VPC, right? In which, again, I have a public subnet and a private subnet. Obviously, we will be having a router, right? Without a router, there is nothing. And then we have an internet gateway. This is a public RT, and this is going to be the private RT. These are connected, and this is connected with the internet gateway like this. So here I have set up some an instance NAT so that private subnet instances can access the internet, right? So here I have an EC2 instance, 1, 2. Now here, let us say I uploaded one object called image.jpg, right? And this is a public object, right? This is a public object. Now, I want to access this image. How to access the image? Using object URL, right? Object URL. So here I'm having a laptop, right? I open a browser and I enter the object URL and I can access the image with the help of the internet. Is that correct? Right. And if from computer one, if I access the same object URL, my request, it will go to the public route table, internet gateway, it goes to the internet and it accesses the object. Means whenever you're accessing the S3 bucket, the request is using the internet to reach the S3 bucket. Like if you're uploading the data or if you're creating the data, all your data is going through the internet. But technically, the S3 bucket is available in the Amazon's network only. To access the resources which are available in the Amazon's network, why should we go to the internet first, right? Now here, we can create something called S3 Transit Gateway. What is the purpose of S3 Transit Gateway? Which will create a private link, which will create a private connection between the VPC and S3. What happens? It's a private link, right? So the data or the traffic or the objects will not go to the public internet, or they don't use a NAT gateway to reach that S3 bucket. A gateway VPC endpoint allows you to connect your VPC directly to S3 without going over the public internet or using a NAT gateway. So by default, here I'll write down something. In general, whenever you upload or download any objects from the VPC to AWS S3 bucket, all the data all the data will reach S3 bucket through the public internet. And by creating S3 gateway endpoint, we can create or we can establish a direct connection between the VPC and S3 bucket without using public internet or a NAT, which means your data will not go to the public internet to reach the S3 bucket. Are you guys clear with this gateway endpoint for S3? Like if you ask me like how to create that, right? Yes, you can, let me show you. S3 gateway. No, we are already in the VPC, right? Okay. So somewhere you can see that. Let me show you that also, where exactly you can see. Create VPC, VPC and more. Okay. So here I have chosen VPC endpoint S3 gateway, right? Let me create it. Automatically, what we call that, some routes will be created in your route table. Why? If the traffic is going to the S3 buckets, if the traffic is going to the S3 buckets, then instead of using the internet, the request will be going through the endpoint which we already created. Okay, so here we can see one endpoint is available, VPC ID and route tables. You can see these all the route tables were attached, means whether public subnet machines or a private subnet machines, if they are trying to access the S3 bucket, if they're trying to access the S3 bucket, then the data will go through the transit gateway. See, VPC endpoint, VPCE, destination, this one PL63 something, which is S3. If the destination is S3, the request should go through the VPC endpoint. Endpoint type, a gateway. So how do they create endpoint? Endpoint name, test. And here you can choose AWS services. What service? S3. S3 in US East 1, right? Okay, gateway. Choose the gateway type. We are creating the gateway. To which VPC? Let me choose for my first VPC. For both route tables, means if the traffic is going to these two route tables to reach the S3, that traffic should go through this endpoint. And click on create endpoint. Now from my first VPC, if I am trying to access the S3 buckets, the traffic will never go to the public internet. That will go through the direct connection between the S3 and my VPC using the S3 gateway endpoint. That is what the gateway endpoint for S3. All the data or all the traffic should go through internal. So just you should remember the terminology. That's it. Not that much important, but it will be good if you know the terminology and the purpose or the use case of each gateway or endpoint and all. Okay, right. So are you guys clear or any questions on these topics? If you guys are clear, then we will see like how to clean up also, because we have two different what we call that VPCs, right? Oh, we forgot that the flow logs, right? Flow logs. We need to check the flow logs also. I mean, at least we need to see one sample log, right? Yeah. So let me go to the S3, because I guess already it might start capturing the logs and all. General purpose buckets. Where is the bucket? This is the one. My first VPC, AWS logs, account ID. See here, this was automatically created. Earlier, there was no such folder. Northern Virginia region, year, month, date. What is this? 13. 13 might be the time, hours, like 1 p.m. UTC time zone. See, that's what I said in the S3. The logs are not user friendly. These logs can be analyzed by Athena or a Glue. So I need to download. Let me download one file. But if you upload that into the CloudWatch logs, it is easy to view. Real-time monitoring is possible in the CloudWatch. S3 is purely for long-term retrievals. And if you want to keep that forever, then you can use S3. Okay, it's a zip file. I downloaded. There's a log, sample log of the flow log. Here it is. Let me open in a Notepad++. See here. This is the network interface ID. Okay. Let me go to my VPC, sorry, EC2. So let me check what is the network interface ID. Networking. Where is the network interface ID? What is the network interface? A3F. See here, A3F, right? Okay, and then source address. This is the source address. Someone from 148.113.210.228 initiated a communication with 192.168.1.173. See here, the IP address destination, the IP address of the web server. And then source port. They initiated the traffic from 47736 port, and they're targeting 890 port, and protocol using 6 protocol. And this is a start time, and this is an end time, and the request got a rejected, and the request got a rejected. Okay, what these timings? These are like Unix timings. Let me check. Let me go to Google. Convert Unix time. Epoch converter. And this is the one, right? At what time? At November 7, 2025, 1:27 p.m. There is a UTC time zone. If that is converted into my time zone, there's a 6:57. I think that at that time we enabled that, right? 33 minutes ago. So it started capturing. And somewhere you can see even like if I access this website, That information is also available, I guess, might be at the bottom one. Let me download. Let me download the last one. And let me, at what time? It's a 7:27. Okay, I guess. Uh, okay. Let me find out some information about the AT protocol also. Mm, source port, destination port. Sorry, address, source port, destination port, protocol is 17. Okay. So I need to check all the logs. So definitely we will get all the information like accept, reject, every piece of information is available. See here, reject, 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 accept. Because I set all no filters to be captured for all incoming and outgoing traffic of all actions, whether it's accept or reject. That's how the flow logs can be used. First of all, what is the purpose of the flow logs? Flow log is used to capture the information about the network traffic going to and from all the network interfaces in your VPC. Like in your VPC, if you have a 10 EC2 instances, each instance will have one network interface, right? Whatever the data is coming, whatever the data is going out, I mean, not exactly the content of the data, like how much data is going out, how much data is coming in, from which location the communication established, on which port they are communicating, at what time, when and at what date and time, all this information will be captured by the flow logs. Okay, so whatever we covered, so are you guys clear or any questions? Any questions on these the miscellaneous parts of the VPC? Yes, please. Go ahead. Okay, where did you get that reject accepted data? See here. This is one flow log. This is one reject. While you are doing, don't set custom. So choose what we call that a default option. You will get more information. See reject. So this particular EC2 instance from is 167.94.138 to 192 like to that EC2 instance. On this particular port, they tried to access something which got rejected. Which got rejected. And see, why it was accepted? It's a 443, which we already allowed in the security group. Outside and incoming, both we allowed, right? That's why you can see 443, 22. Somewhere that is available. Yeah, 22 also you can observe. That is allowed, accepted. Whatever you are allowing through the security group, only that you can see for accept. For the other things, you can see as a reject. Yep. Any other questions? Okay, then let's stop the session here and let's continue tomorrow. And tomorrow, let's cover a service called Route 53. A small topic, just we can like a kind of a DNS and a domain registrar, which we will complete in the tomorrow session. Tomorrow is Saturday, right? Yeah, we'll cover that in the tomorrow session. Okay, right. Thank you, everyone. We'll continue tomorrow.